A promise is only as good as its guarantee. It's the fact that the people who are in pain are really desperate to get help. But you can create a package, you can create a service, and that is just one of the things that's included in what you deliver. That is where you are feeding a starving crowd, and that is going to be the easiest market to work in. But it's also really showing that you care for the client and gives a ton of.
Welcome to Swift Coaches Academy, a podcast dedicated to bringing health and wellness professionals the uncensored truth behind what it really takes to succeed in the health industry with me, your host, Xenia Wood. As an accredited exercise physiologist and business owner for almost a decade, I'm on a mission to transform the lives of ambitious health professionals like you who want more and are ready to take action to create incredible impact in your careers and unlock financial freedom in your business. So join me as I speak candidly with industry leaders about the struggles and successes from within the trenches through thought-provoking conversations.
Hello. Another episode today, which I'm super pumped for. I'm actually a little bit cold, I'm freezing. I actually have Raynaud's disease, which is basically self-diagnosed, obviously, which is where like a couple of my fingers go white when it gets really cold or when I like go in an ice bath or something like that. And according to Google and the medical system, the only thing that you can do for Raynaud's is wear warm clothes. So cheers for that to the medical system for telling me something that I definitely already knew and not being very helpful. It is in Brisbane and it's probably like 7 degrees this morning. So I'm sitting here with the aircon on 22 and still shivering a little bit. So hoping this episode goes well today, but that's not why we're here. Today, we are here to talk about clients who want results, but are still trading time. Let me start that again. Clients want results, but we as coaches and you are still trading time for money because that's what everyone else does, right? So it's this the way it's been done. And so it makes sense. And that's the way that, the health system charges is per time or per session. And so we think, okay, well, how do we get out of this? Even, okay, Xenia, I understand that you want to get results, but, I still have to charge for my time or for my session, things like that. Well, I'm going to talk to you about how we need to shake this up because clients are looking for results. And today we're going to talk about how to get out of this time for money trap, how to create a results-based promise for your health offer, also the importance of feeding a starving crowd, and the game of articulating your clients' problems. So the first thing I want to talk about with the time for money trap and clients who really just want results with you is what I tell all of my students. And it is that if someone tears their ACL, they come to you and we know that on average it's a 9-month process to take someone from torn ACL, whether they go operative or non-operative, to then get to a position where they can return to sport, right? But if you could guarantee, or if you could get them a result and get them back on the field in 4 months or 6 months or something significantly less than the 9 months, do you think that they would want that over the 9 months? Do you think that they would want to have a result quicker? Do you think that that would be more valuable to them to be able to go back to the thing that they love sooner? Right? I think it would. I think it would be insanely valuable, especially if you're thinking people who love sport, their identity is part of sport, and this could be their final season, or it just means a lot to them. People are willing to pay more for that. And so it's important that we understand that we are not saying, oh, yep, just come back for 9 months. It's important that we are aiming for a result. And so if we can get that in a shorter period of time, people are going to be willing to pay more for that. So why we're not doing this in any other area of healthcare, I get it. I get that it's hard to promise a result or guarantee something in health, but we can put conditions around it. We can say, well, these are things you have to do as part of the program. But if we don't have skin in the game as a healthcare provider, and we're just saying, oh, come in for an hour, oh, come in for 12 weeks, oh, we'll just see how we go. Like, as a client, I'm like, that's not fucking good enough. Like, you have a degree, I have a problem, you're telling me you can solve it, and then you say, oh, just pay me for my time. And then if you get the result, great. If you don't, oh, sorry, right? I think that we need to actually, like have some skin in the game and be like, we're going to actually also work really fucking hard and put our money where our mouth is by, saying something along the lines of, oh, we'll give you your money back, or we'll guarantee it somehow. We'll have something there so that our clients feel confident investing their time and their money in us to get this outcome, right? So the other thing for this is I often hear, and I actually used to do this, that we would call our initial consults, if we would do them for free, discovery calls. And it would be, something on the website or on Instagram or wherever it is. And it's like, book a free discovery call. People don't want discovery calls. They want to understand what that they need to do, like a plan, a pathway, a roadmap, a strategy. They want something that they can walk away with, because everyone knows a discovery call is just a sales call, right? Which has us as the clinician in the center of it, because it's our agenda and it's what we want. But if we can shift that paradigm and we can say, hey, well, let's give some like a roadmap or a plan or a strategy or something to the client in that. And yes, that might include, well, we can actually, complete the plan for you, and this is how much it would be to work with us. But if we're using different language and not calling it a discovery call, but calling it something that is going to inherently add value to the client, that's what we want to be focusing on. Because when you hear words like discovery call, it's like, I already know what the problem is. Like, what do you mean? We're just going to discover, we're just going to have a chat about all my I want a solution, right? And so if we're solution oriented, we're results driven, then it's going to be so much more likely that our clients are going to want to jump on that call with us. They don't want to sit with us for 45 minutes and talk about, they want to get a result, right? And they want to know we're the right person. And of course, there's going to include some quote unquote discovery. But if we can do that in a way that also gives them value in that time, then, and the way we articulate that with not calling it a discovery call, I think is an important distinction that we should be making. So hopefully that helps you understand briefly the time for money trap. And in terms of the fact that, in the healthcare system with almost all allied health, it's you charge per session or per portion of an hour or whatever it is. Yes, I get that. But you can create a package, you can create a service, and that is just one of the things that's included in what you deliver, right? The outcome, the overarching result that they want, which, might be to get rid of their back pain, it might be to lose 10 kilos, it might be to, jump as high as possible for their long jump, whatever it is, okay? That is the focus. Cool. Next thing we're going to talk about is how to create this results-based promise. So often what I hear is that people will say, oh, we're going to do 3 lots of 30-minute sessions, exercise sessions a week. But that's not a result. That is what you do. That is the process, right? The result is what happens after or as a result of seeing you. And if you're sitting there going, yeah, but I just do training with people and I'm just not really sure what my promise is, have a think about your clients and what your ideal client really, and what outcome you would love to get for them. What happens to them? And it could be confidence, right? It doesn't have to be like a quantitative measurement, but it could be confidence to go and wear the dress that has been sitting in the back of their cupboard for the last 18 months. It could be, not having fear around eating foods that are going to cause them, gastrointestinal problems, right? It can be qualitative things, but we need to really clearly articulate them. So a promise is only as good as its guarantee. Now, I might do a whole episode on guarantees. So if you want this, DM me on Instagram, Xenia Wood Official, and let me know that you want to hear more about guarantees. I'm just going to touch on it briefly today. So a promise could be we will get you pain-free, right? But if you just say that, and that is all you say, people are like, okay, everyone else says that too. What makes me believe you more than someone else? And if you don't have any trust, or they don't know you yet, they don't like you because they don't really know who you are yet, then we get people pain free is just like a bit of a throwaway statement. But if it says, we will get you pain free, and be really clear, right? We will get you pain free in 6 weeks or your money back. That's a really clear promise, and it's really strong because there's a guarantee. Okay. It's really clear to see that, like, oh, wow, they really actually are going to get me pain free in 6 weeks, because otherwise they're going to have to give me my money back. And that's obviously not going to benefit them either. So making sure that you have a promise, figure out what that is for your health offer, for who you're serving. And this is so important as to why you need a niche. Because if you say, oh, well, I do weight loss and back pain and shoulder pain and gastrointestinal, function improvement, it's like, who are you actually helping? If you could spend all of your time on one thing and one subset of people, and you were like, I really, really want to solve this thing, or I really love working with these people, choose that. It's not to say that someone comes along and they're not exactly that person that you have to say no to them. Not just yet, right? Build up to a point where you have so many of your ideal client coming in that then you can refer those other people elsewhere. Okay. So niching down doesn't mean that you have to like only be that niche today. Keeping that in mind. Cool. So hopefully that helps you with your promise. We want to promise, and it's only as strong as a guarantee. So add a guarantee, something like, or your money back, or we'll work with you for free until you do. I've used that one before. Or we'll refer you on to our competitor and pay for you to work with them. That is a really compelling offer, because if you are going to say that you're going to pay them to work with your competitor, it's like, that feels so strong that you know what you're doing, because why would you want to pay your competitor? That's like really almost like a hit to your ego, right? But it's also really showing that you care for the client and gives a ton of confidence and conviction in the promise that you just mentioned. I am also going to, in the show notes below, have a link to the 6 keys to an irresistible health offer checklist, which you can download now. So go there and do that before you forget, because that is going to help you craft that irresistible offer that has a promise and a guarantee. Okay. Point 3 is feeding a starving crowd. So if you were going to set up a food truck, let's say, and you were going to want to make it as effective as possible for you to have the most clients, the most money, and get the most out of this business venture, do you think that you would put it next to, like all of the other food vendors, perhaps in a good spot where there's lots of food? But do you think that you would put it in somewhere where people, let's say, people go to a restaurant and they go there first, and then your food is meant to be after their food, right? And it's similar food, or it's something else. It could be ice cream, let's say, but those people aren't hungry. Those people aren't like, they don't need dessert, right? In this example, let's say a food truck was gelato. They don't need that. If you instead were the only food truck in like a 50K radius, and it was like a drive-through town that people have to go through on their way from like one major city to another major city, and if they're hungry, and let's say that like most of the people drive through this part of town around dinner time, and perhaps there hasn't been a food truck, maybe 50 kilometers is not, let's say like 500 kilometers, right? There's been no food around for that period of time, and you've been driving and you are starving. You will pay whatever to get that food if you do not have any, right? And so I think what we do in health is we go, I love exercise, or I love nutrition, or I love, mindset coaching, whatever it is. So therefore I'm going to coach that. And I just hope people want it because I love it. But if people are not in enough pain, or you're not feeding a starving need, it's going to be much harder to sell that thing. Okay. So the way that I think of this in healthcare is physiotherapists or people working in rehab can typically charge a lot more for their services than someone who's working with like longevity and wellness and just like ongoing exercise coaching, right? And we see this time and time again, which is why you see personal trainers charging a lot less than physiotherapists. It's not actually necessarily due to the fact that they have more qualifications, because it's a totally different service, right? Exercise versus rehab, and perhaps let's say the rehab is hands-on and it's not exercise-based, so they're totally different services. It's the fact that the people who are in pain are really desperate to get help. Whereas if you just want to improve your health, a little bit, you're not desperate for that, unless there's something in your personal life where, like a family member's just been diagnosed with cancer or, diabetes, and you're overweight. And so that gives you that sense of urgency. But for the majority, we're thinking about trying to feed a starving crowd. So let's say that you don't work in rehab, you do work in something health related. How can you highlight a problem to your ideal client and try and make sure that you're feeding a starving need? And then of course you can still feed other needs and things like that. Let's say a business owner, right? A business owner who, is doing pretty well, but could be doing better, perhaps with more money, with more time back, things like that. We can still kind of like zone in on their desires and what their wants are, and help them see that that's a pain point or a problem for them right now. If you only talk to the desires and moving towards things, it's often that you will only get the people who are really driven by that and who have all of their urgent, immediate needs met, like pain, shelter, all those things. But those things are going to become priority for clients. And this is why I see a lot of clients who they get to a point where, maybe money gets a little tighter, maybe, their mortgage or thing has gone up, which their mortgage is shelter, far more important to them than doing some exercise 1 week, right? And so they will cut out exercise out of their life before they start paying their mortgage, or think that they should go and sell their house and go and rent somewhere, because they feel that shelter in that moment is far more important. I'd argue that it is. But if that person was working through rehab and they had so much pain in their body that they couldn't function, they couldn't get up in the morning, they couldn't get out of bed, they couldn't, they couldn't go to work, they couldn't, serve their family, then I would argue that that is so, so important to them that they would find a way. And I've seen this time and time again with clients who work with us who don't appear to have a lot of money, but they go and make it work. They find ways to make it work because it is so important to them. And when you see people who have this deep need and this deep desire to make a change, whether that be towards something like towards growth and abundance, or away from pain, away from struggle, then that is where you are feeding a starving crowd. And that is going to be the easiest market to work in. Most of us in healthcare are playing in the who wants this luxury item, basically, as to, let's say, personal training, or, I just want to improve my nutrition. I just like to learn some things, as opposed to like, I need this because I have bloating and discomfort every single day and it's affecting my life, right? Or it's affecting my fertility. Those are things that we can look at as to how this can be a real problem for people, and how we can help serve them differently. Well, not serve them differently, but how we can articulate it differently. Okay. So I've sort of touched on the last point for today, but the game of articulating your client's problems is the last point. And this comes down to understanding not just the actual problem, like i.e. shoulder pain, but understanding the client, understanding those people with those problems. So shoulder pain could be for footballers, could be for, new parents, and it could be for older adults. So picking your market and who you're serving and being able to talk specifically to them, because it's going to be very different messaging someone in shoulder pain who's an athlete versus someone in shoulder pain who's a new parent. Okay. And if you can speak to them and your messaging is really directed to them, they're going to feel seen and heard, and holy shit, this person knows exactly what I'm going through. And when people think that in their heads, when they see your content, your copy, they see what you do, what you talk about, psychology tells us of human behavior that when someone is able to really, really clearly articulate our problem and what we're currently going through, that we believe that they will be more likely to solve our problem because they really inherently understand where we're at right now. And so our behavior goes, well, oh my God, you must have been through the same thing. You must have seen it so many times because you've just articulated everything that's in my head. And so we believe that they're going to be able to get us a better result. And it's typically going to be the case. If you spend a lot of time with those people, you will start to understand their language, how they talk, and you will be able to articulate their problem better. And generally that is going to mean that you are, serving those people better because you understand their problems. And so you're going to, as a business owner, hopefully try and find new and more and better ways really to serve those clients. So I've got a couple of examples here to finish us off for today. Let's say that you are a shoulder pain expert or a physiotherapist, saying something like, we rid shoulder pain without telling you to stop exercise so that you can hit your next PB in the gym. Really, really specific. So who am I talking to? I'm talking to people with shoulder pain, sure, but I'm also talking to gym goers who have shoulder pain because they want to hit their next PB, and people who just want someone to fucking stop saying to them to stop exercising because that's the last thing that they want. So it's really clear without saying we work with, adults aged 35 to 50, I've articulated my demographic through what they do and the types of things or the types of people that they are, not just ages and genders, right? A lot of people are like, we help mums with X, right? And if it's like mums with shoulder pain, it's like, okay, but like, give me more than that. I want to know what that mum will be feeling. It's like, so that mum can, lift, carry their babies or throw their kids up in the air, 100 times on the trampoline without feeling shoulder pain, right? Something that they could actually see and visualize and relate to. So that articulation of the problem and what they're going through, really, really important. The last example I have is a gut health dietitian. And I've written, we remove constipation and bloating for good without sacrificing the foods you love so that you can enjoy food without fear again. So we're talking about people who are afraid of eating certain foods and don't really know what's going on because they know that they will get the symptoms of constipation and bloating. Really clear again, but I haven't said women or men or this age or anything like that. But what I've spoken to is the problem. And that's far more important than the demographic or perhaps even the gender in some instances of the problem that you're solving. Okay. So just to recap what we've gone through today, we talked about how trading time for money trap and talking about, hey, we've got X number of sessions for X number of minutes and dollars, and this is what I charge, is not the way forward. We need to be talking about and creating a results-based promise. If you want more info and you want me to dive into how you can actually break down and create like a package or a service, again, DM me on Instagram about that. Would love to know, and I'll do that if you guys message me. Second thing was to make sure that that promise is strong because of its guarantee. Okay, so you have a promise and you also have a guarantee, and that download for the Irresistible Health Offer Checklist, if you haven't clicked on that already, go into the show notes now and download that. That is yours for free from me to you. The third point is feeding a starving crowd, making sure that you are articulating the problem, why that's a problem for them, and making sure it's something that they need or they feel that they need rather than just a nice to have or a want. And then finally, it's the game of articulating your clients' problems better than anyone else. The better that you can articulate them, the more likely that they are going to choose you to help them solve that problem. I hope this episode has helped you today, and I cannot wait for next one. Until next time, move swiftly.
I have a tiny favor to ask of you, and that is to just hit that subscribe button if you have not done it yet. If you've made it this far, then I hope that this has been valuable for you and for us to get more incredible guests in front of your earlobes and faces. If you're watching us on YouTube, then please do that now. And if you have any feedback or suggestions for me, or something that was a golden nugget that really stood out to you in this episode, I would absolutely love if you flicked me a message over on Instagram at Xenia Wood Official. Until next episode, and in whatever you do, move swiftly.